Let's do another guitar demo today, shall we? Today, we're checking out the Glarry guitar from Glarry Guitars. Assume there's a model number on here. I saw a video on one of these guitars here a couple of months ago. My buddy Stay Metal Ray did a demo on one of these, and kind of the same scenario. They had sent him a guitar, said we'd love for you to demo it on your channel. Long story short, without recounting his entire story, I'll link up his video down in the description for you to check it out because it was a good video. But he didn't have a whole lot of. Let's just say it was not the most flattering video guitar review that I have ever seen. So, sure enough, after about a month or two after me watching this video, Glarry Guitars reached out to me and said, I will agree with Ray on one on one point that he made, and that is that Glarry guitars are kind of particular. I guess would be the best way that I can think of to put it. As I mentioned, a couple months after seeing that video, Glarry actually reached out to me and asked me if I would, if I would be willing to demo one of their guitars on my channel. They sent me a link, said, "Here you go. Here's all of our guitar models. Pick one out. Tell us which one you want. We'll send it to you to demo." Well, Ray had already picked out the one that had the skulls and stuff on it. It was kind of the cool metal looking one. I didn't want to do that exact same one, so I picked out this one. And, because I kind of like the look of it, thought it'd be a little bit different, hadn't seen that one yet. And Glarry came back and said, yeah, thanks, but no thanks, that one's already been demoed. How about this one? And the one that, was a little more traditional looking than what I had picked out, was what I figured, all right, why not? I'm not playing this game, just send it to me and I'll do it. So box arrived this week. Or I guess technically it arrived last week. Let's pull it out of the box and see what we got. I'm going to admit, this guitar is very, very inexpensive. It's like $70 or something, brand new. They shipped it to me for free, and they also told me up front that I can keep it when I'm done, but they're not paying anything additional for this review. So in order to be fair, I also reserve the right with them for me to be completely honest in this review. Fortunately, if I don't, if it turns out that this is not my thing, this channel happens to support an organization called Share the Music that accepts donations of broken or unwanted instruments, and I'm sure Share the Music will be able to fix this thing up and set it up properly, and give it to a child or a music program in need. That's likely, not likely. That is where this thing is going to go when I'm done. So regardless, it will. There will be, regardless of my expectations not being real high, a good thing will come out of it in the end. Comes with that is literally a vinyl gig bag with literally no padding in it whatsoever. So, but, at least they include a gig bag. That's, honestly, I wasn't expecting that. Comes with a vinyl guitar strap, an expensive vinyl guitar strap that ought to get the job done. Whammy bar and the truss rod tool, Allen wrench, if you will, and they give you a cable, and there's even a guitar pick in there as well. I'll tell you what, I am not going to use any of that. I will just leave it with the guitar. Whoa. It's a guitar. It's a S-style guitar, if you will. Couple things that I'm noticing about it already. The frets really are. I expected the frets to be like uber sharp and slicing my hands right out of the box. They could use a little bit of filing down on the edges, but for the most part, they are actually pretty decent. Not great, but decent. That is definitely a fatter neck than I was expecting, though. Action is definitely a little high on this thing. I've seen worse, but it is a little high. Let's see. The neck pickup is actually tilted inwards a little bit towards the neck. And I'm just kind of identifying things right out of the box. You know, it's got a fair amount of dust and stuff on it right out of the box. That can obviously be wiped off, you know, cleaned up pretty easily. The cellophane cover is still on the pick guard. I'm going to leave that alone. This thing smells like a sheet of plywood right after you ran it through a table saw. It smells like fresh cut wood. Let's see. There's a little bit of... That's the end of a piece of wood that didn't get worked smoothed out properly, so it's a little banged up right there on the edge, on the end of the headstock. And there, nothing structural, just I don't know if that's a scratch or something, but there are I can see where the nut, I'm sure, is plastic. Where the strings are actually going through the nut, I can actually see little shards of plastic coming out this side of it. So that makes me think that either the nut has not been lubricated properly, or the slots simply are just, you know, cut incorrectly. That's really about all I see. No serial number either. So, you know, they likely they fire these things out, you know, on a production line, you know, probably thousands a day, or at least thousands a week. So, I'm sure that they have a very, very, very large inventory of these, you know, because they're, you know, as a consumer, these things sell for, like I said, about $70, and I imagine, you know, the cost to build these is far less than that. So, you know, sending several of them to YouTube creators, you know, for demo purposes is probably not very costly to them. You know, the other thing that I notice, this thing feels like it weighs about 5 pounds. My music May Majesty that you guys see in my videos a lot, that guitar is just short of 7 pounds. That's a very lightweight guitar. This one's lighter than that, so I'm going to guess this is probably in the 5 to 6 range. Enough of that. Let's plug it in and let's see how she goes. this is a format that I don't normally do on my channel. Okay, I, go through pros and cons and an actual consumer review. Usually, I just demo gear and give a couple of pointers of things that I like about it, and things that I think they'd be good uses for. More demos than than reviews. In this instance, I got to be honest. We'll start with the pros. I do like the color. I think it's a cool color. I especially like it with the tortoiseshell pick guard. Kind of reminds me of one of my all-time favorite strats is the Fender Deluxe Player Strat, and they when that guitar was still in production, they actually made that guitar in a very, very similar finish. That one had gold hardware, and you could just tell it was a little bit higher in finish. But this is, I've got to assume anyway, at least kind of, sort of, partially inspired by that. Tone-wise, it's not bad. For a $70 guitar, it does sound a little bit better than I expected. Pickups actually are not bad. Everything seems to be wired, properly. I didn't open up the back or pull up the pick guard or anything, but all the controls are functional. And if you're a beginning guitar player, brand new guitar player, it's nice and lightweight. That could, especially for a young child, 6, 7, 8 years old, that could be a benefit. And of course the price. They're very affordable. $70 or so, 60, 70, $80, whatever they run, somewhere in that range. And they come with a gig bag that's serviceable enough for a young student to take them back and forth to lessons, store it in a closet or in a corner somewhere at home when it's not being used. Comes with a strap, comes with a guitar pick, and and of course the whammy bar. It's got a cable with it too. I know from experience, cables that come with with inexpensive guitars are, you're better off using it for a bull rope or something. They're gonna short out. They're gonna short out sooner rather than later. Don't rely on that cable. Spend the money on a decent guitar cable, which will probably cost you about $10 to $15. And I will give Glarry Guitars credit in the fact that they did get it to me pretty quickly, all the way from China. This thing arrived within probably a week or two, so not bad. Cons: it's cheap. The biggest one of all, this thing does not stay in tune at all. I normally don't, I normally edit out portions of my videos where I stop to, tune things up and stuff. But this one, I left it in just because I wanted to demonstrate how easily it pulls out of tune and how, difficult of a time I was having getting it back in tune. Now, some setup work could probably help that a lot. Again, some lubrication of the nut. What you guys have just seen is literally straight out of the box, so take that into consideration. Some lubrication of the nut would probably do it some good. Probably a replacement of the nut, would be even better. The tuners are ungodly cheap. They don't even turn at the same tension. They feel. The B string, for example, is significantly looser than the rest. And all of the screws on the buttons all look, pretty tight as well. So, that's something going on with the gears on the inside. Tuners are useless. Probably gonna behoove somebody to replace them. That bridge, I didn't, crank down on it, on the whammy bar or anything too crazy because it's a metal bridge, but it kind of feels like a softer metal to me. The fretboard is supposedly rosewood, or at least a rosewood-esque looking fretboard, but it looks pretty dried out. Frets are pretty, like I said, frets are pretty decent. That part is playable. The back of the neck is a satin finish neck, and actually feels pretty good. The neck profile itself is pretty large and not really what I would recommend for a beginner. For experienced players who are going to know what this means, it's got, this neck feels like a 50s Gibson, to be honest. It's that fat. And I'm not, me personally, I'm not much of a fat neck guy. I can get by with it, but it's not really my preference. For a beginning guitar player, you can learn on it, but I think a smaller, something maybe even a little bit narrower across the nut as well, and a thinner neck is going to be easier for you. But barring all of that, until you get the tuning issues and everything straightened out. You know, it doesn't matter what neck it's got on it. If it's not going to stay in tune, it is not a functional instrument by any stretch of the imagination. And I will reiterate that I think some of that could be fixed if somebody's willing to put the money into some new tuners and a new nut and some setup work. By the time, if somebody, for example, who likes tinkering on guitars, this might be a good platform to do so. Because those guys are going to get a hold of this thing and strip it down to basically bare wood anyway. For somebody looking for a functional instrument, keep in mind, if you buy this thing for $70, that is not going to be your final cost. You are most likely going to have to pay somebody for a full setup, which is all the things I just talked about, getting the action set right, getting it, getting the tuning problems straightened out, making sure all the electronics and everything are working, fully playable. And the average, national average here in the U.S. for a full setup is usually somewhere between about $50 and $75. So you can, if you are not familiar with how to set up a guitar and you don't have a friend or a family member, somebody who can do it for you for free, and you're gonna have to pay somebody, add that to the cost. In which case, if you do that, then you're going to be up over $100. And for even for $70 or $80, certainly for $100, you can ask any experienced guitar player out there. They will tell you can find a much more better quality and more serviceable instrument on the used market that will serve your needs just fine. This guitar would be a much better value if those things were taken care of at the factory, to where the end user didn't have to worry about them once they get them. As long as the end user does have to worry about all those things when they receive their brand new instrument in the box, like I said, a lot of those things are costly, particularly for a lot of beginning guitar players, and it just, from a value perspective, to me, it just doesn't make sense. I was going to do a full track demo with this guitar, but, the truth is, with the tuning issues, I mean, I'm not going to do it. It's too hard to keep it in tune as it is, and I'm going to pass this thing off to Share the Music, and let them, work their magic on it and find it the right home. So that's it for this video. Link to the description. Subscribe if you haven't already. Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. And links to support the channel are down in the description as well. Thank you so much for watching. Sayonara.